In this video, we'll examine assignment 4-6, number 1 and number 2, working through each. Again, we'll be seeing authentic cadences. The chapter does also include half cadences, and my definition of a half cadence is any phrase that ends on a chord other than tonic. We're not going to see a half cadence in number 1 and number 2, the two that we're going to be working through in this video, but you may see a half cadence in assignment 4-6. Anyway, in this first example, a piece by Handel, we're mostly concerned with the last two chords. Now, if you notice the bass line, there is an F sharp that jumps down to an F sharp here. And in this example, the second to last chord is really both beats. Then the final chord is this chord with B on the bottom. Our key signature tells us, two sharps could either be D major or it could be B minor. Those are both keys that have two sharps, F sharp and C sharp. Because we have this A sharp right here, we're going to go with B minor. Again, the leading tone is like the flashlight that points at, or a laser beam that points at Do, and A sharp is definitely pointing at B. It's leading to B. Without the A sharp, it'd be hard to support B minor, but here it certainly is B minor. And also, we end with a chord on B here. And let's take an inventory of our last two chords. This, again, these two beats we're all going to think of as one chord, and then this last as our last chord. Okay, so we have an F sharp down low. We have a B that becomes an A sharp in this middle voice. One of those is probably not part of the chord. It's what's called a non-harmonic tone or a non-chord tone. Then we have a C sharp up here. And we also have eventually another F sharp and another B. And again, probably one of these notes is not part of the chord. Now, because the F sharp is so strong, it's doubled in the tenor and bass, or in the left hand in octaves. And because the F sharp lasts for both the first and second beat, we're going to look at F sharp as the bottom of the snowman and see if we can make that work. So F sharp, then we said there was an A sharp, and then we said there was a C sharp. So there's this one note, B, which is a non-chord tone, which is not actually part of that chord. We can't make it fit into the snowman, and yet it's there. So that's an example of where composers want to make music interesting. Sometimes they add notes that are not part of the chord. It kind of spices it up, but it actually isn't part of the prevailing harmony. But we do see that we clearly have an F sharp chord here, and if this is in the key of B minor, right, F sharp is the dominant. It's the fifth scale degree. So that's a major dominant chord because of the A sharp leading tone, right? The adjustment that's made for harmonic minor. Then this last chord here, we have a B, an F sharp, and then two Bs. So a B, an F sharp, and then another two Bs. So we really don't have a third. It's almost like there's a D implied, but it's like a ghost note. It's actually not there. But we still do have the framework, the skeleton of a tonic chord. We just can't tell, is it major or minor, because we can't really hear the third. But since we're in B minor, we're going to call it, the Roman numeral we'll use will be a lowercase Roman numeral. So this is an authentic cadence, although it's not as clear as some of the other ones we've seen. We have a dominant to a tonic in the key of B minor. Well, let's look at those points. The bottom of the two chords and then the top of the last one, if they're the roots of their respective triads, we've got ourselves a perfect authentic cadence. Well, this F sharp, right, is the root, and this B is the root, and this B here is the root. So in terms of what kind of cadence, it's a perfect authentic cadence. That's number 1. All right, number 2 on assignment 4-6 is a piece by Bach chorale phrase. And again, there's a lot of neat stuff happening in this entire phrase, but we're only concerned with these last two chords. And just like our previous example, we're going to see that this D octaves really looks like it's one chord for two beats. That's sounding, and then we have this last chord with G in the bass. Our key signature of two flats, B flat and E flat, could support B flat major. It could also support G minor, the relative minor, shares the same key signature. Because of the F sharp here and the F sharp here, I think it's probably going to be G minor. So we'll go with G minor because we have a leading tone. All right, so key, G minor. And then Let's take an inventory of our notes. In our second to last chord, we have D's. Those are all D's. All four of these are D's. Then we have A and F sharp. Now, those are dotted quarter notes. Very, very small durations. We have some notes that don't look like they're going to matter. They don't fit in the chord. But if we take the D's, right, the D's that we saw in the bottom, D, and we take the F sharp up top, F sharp, and we take the A that we see in the middle, A, we end up having a D major chord. That's the dominant chord in the key of G minor, D, F sharp, A. And let's get rid of some of this mess here. So we have a dominant chord there for just these two beats, right? That's our D, F sharp, A chord right there. Then on our last beat, we have a G, a D, a B flat, and a G. Let's add that up. A G, a D, a B flat, and then another G. So that is a G minor chord. That's going to be our minor tonic chord. So this is definitely an authentic cadence. Well, let's look at our bottom places. We have as the bottom note of the second to last chord, we have a D, which is the bottom or the root of the dominant. Then we have a G as the bottom note of our last chord. Well, that is the root of the tonic. Then up here we have a G, also the root. So in terms of what kind of cadence is this, it is a perfect, authentic